Welcome back to the Navy Sports Magazine. Navy men's golf team with the Patriot League Championships coming up this week with Griffin Peters. And you're from Arizona. I talked with Jeremy Roenick a couple of weeks ago, and he has had to clear rattlesnakes out of his garage. Now, you're from Arizona, just like he is out there. Have you ever had to take rattlesnakes out of your home?
Well, not necessarily out of my home. We've had a couple in my front yard, and playing golf and a lot of the golf courses being in the desert, I've come across a few rattlesnakes myself, and it's definitely not something I look forward to or really want to do, but been happy enough to not be bitten by one.
Now, do you use like a 3 or 4 iron to get rid of them, or do you hope they just go away on their own?
I usually just run past them. I mean, it's not something
I'm glad you got the confidence to run by them. No doubt about that. For you guys as a whole, and let's talk about you individually. Obviously, a second-team All-League performer a year ago, and as you have developed your game here, and obviously you're playing against quality people all the time at the Division I level. What's been the key for you to make the kind of progress incrementally year after year here to continue to improve your game?
Well, I think for me, it's just realizing what's most important, and that's all of my wedge shots from inside of 125 yards. Just being able to dial in all those yardages and try and close in my proximity to the hole. So that's been my main focus the last 2 years, is getting a better short game. And then on top of that, being able to play different golf courses different ways with different clubs off the tee, different ways around the course. So that's been my primary focus for the last 2 seasons. And it's been, for the most part, helping me out a lot.
So many variables when it comes to the game of golf. I mean, let's face it, course condition.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure you all see, you play fall and you play in the spring. So
right.
I'm sure you see courses in, different states of condition. The technology now is as good as it's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, how much do you have to balance, the advantages of new technology and, degrees of wedges to fit the kind of game that you feel comfortable playing?
Yeah, so pretty much right around 3 years ago when I was a senior in high school, I found what worked for me, and I've just been using that ever since. Now, there's been times where I've had to switch up different lofts with clubs and everything, but that's just with the change my swing. But I pretty much try and keep everything the same, and I'm able to dial it back or increase it if I need to in certain scenarios, like with the wind or with the rain. So we kind of just go on a case-by-case basis at that point. But I try to not change as many things as possible.
Do you ever, depending on the course you're playing, especially if it's a course you've played at multiple times, do you maybe exchange a club out in your bag depending on the course that you'll play?
Well, I don't, but I know that there are guys who do. I mean, we don't have as many resources when it comes to the amount of clubs we have compared to the guys on the PGA Tour. But, I mean, for the most part, I try and keep everything the same in the bag, and I'm able to use multiple clubs off the tee at that point. But I know some guys on the team who do switch out clubs for each tournament.
Do you ever get in a position where, and obviously this is something we see with Tiger Woods all the time, where, you're really stubborn about whether, you just keep hitting your driver on a particular hole where maybe you're better served using a 3-wood or something like that? Do you ever fight that mental battle, especially if you're going through a little rhythm issue where maybe you're not hitting a club as well as you'd like to?
I mean, totally. There's definitely been cases. I can go back to the Patriot League Championship last year where on this one hole, I think I played it maybe 2 or 3 over par for a 3-round tournament, and it really hurt my overall score. So I was just trying to find the club that was working, and typically during the practice round is where if we find something that doesn't fit our eye, we're able to switch it up and hit multiple balls off the tee so that when we go into our tournament, we try to not change up our game plan as much. But I know for me, there's been times where I've gone down a club or gone up a club or tried to hit a fade or a draw. So it just kind of depends on what's going on, like at that time and what's going on in my mind and maybe how I'm playing or how I'm not playing.
How much of the battle is mental or physical as it pertains to your individual game?
So for me, I mean, I don't really notice like a physical change when it comes to playing in the different conditions. Like when we're playing 36 holes, it's 100% mental. And at that point, like if something's not going right or if something is going right, you really need to keep like a positive mindset and something that's just kind of lighthearted, and you really don't need to take things too serious out there. I mean, you obviously need to focus on certain shots and your approach to the tournament, trying to help out the guys on the team, but if you make a bogey or if you 3-putt or if you do something stupid, you kind of just need to take it all in the same light and just go on from there. And that's been the big improvement for me in the last few rounds, is just trying to focus more positive and just trying to make as many birdies as possible.
How receptive are guys and yourself as well when one of your teammates may see something, may observe something, or you may observe something during the course of a round, and obviously I know it's an individual sport within the team concept, but when you try to help out a guy, most guys receptive as long as you're not maybe obsessive about it in terms of helping them or them helping you?
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's guys on the team who will come to me and ask for help, and I go to them too. And during practice rounds, we try and help each other out as much as possible so that when we are on our own or if the coaches aren't there during a tournament, we're able to use what we've learned in the past or what people have told us in maybe 24 hours beforehand and kind of weigh everything on the table and see what we can do from there. So I know there's guys who really look for assistance, and I do as well.
What's the key to weathering the break from fall into spring? Because obviously, the last 2 years here, we've just had ridiculous winter conditions. So, playing out actually out on the course, not really conducive. But how do you weather that break and try to keep your skills as sharp as you can?
Yeah, so for me, I'm fortunate enough to be from Arizona. So over winter break, when we go back home, I'm able to pretty much play golf every day out there and work on some things. But on top of that, we have this new performance center that's amazing. It was a very nice donation, and this past winter it was unbelievable with what we were able to get done. And we came out into the spring season just hitting the ball phenomenally. And perhaps the main thing is with the short game and not being able to go outside as much, like especially in the prime months of February and March. With this past winter and 2 years ago, I know it was really cold, it was really windy, and it was bad weather. But we just try and make do with what we can. But the main thing is getting out there and just being confident. And we're able to do that by just hitting as many balls as possible indoors and just getting a solid swing going so that when we're out on the course, we can trust ourselves fully.
Have you ever played in the kind of wind we've had this early, mid-spring? I mean, it's been unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, not out here yet. Knock on wood that doesn't happen this weekend. But when we were down in Florida, we actually had a qualifying round. And this cell came through in the morning, and then it broke up around 10:30, maybe 11, and it was blowing maybe 35, 40 miles per hour. And it was something that, we're on spring break, we're trying to enjoy ourselves instead of having to grind out there in some wind like that. But it's definitely been hard. I mean, being from Arizona, it's all wide open spaces out there, so I'm kind of used to it a little bit, but it's just something you just have to grind out, just get used to it.
What's the key this week as you head to Bethlehem for the Patriot League tournament?
For our team, it's just putting together 3 solid rounds, and that's, staying in the moment, focusing on our game plan. And for me, individually, is just trying to keep the ball in front of me, limit my mistakes to only 1 over on a hole if I'm doing poorly, and just trying to make as many birdies as possible.
Is that tougher? Is that easier said than done to put that bad hole behind you and move on, or even the bad shot behind you and move on to the next shot and convince yourself that, hey, I probably need to play this conservative here just to get back, in rhythm here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing is not changing the game plan. Like, if I have one bad hole, then I go into the next hole and I look at my yardage book and I look at any of the notes I have, and I just stay true to those. Because at the end of the day, you can only look at what you did right versus what you did wrong. Right. So if I did everything right as I wrote down in my yardage book, or if I stuck to my game plan, then I know that that's all I could have done.
All right, big fella, appreciate the time. Best of luck this weekend, and watch out for those rattlesnakes when you go back home.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Griffin Peters joining us here on the Navy Sports Magazine.